How's everybody doing? Welcome back to Ask That Podcast on YouTube. Yeah, it's another Mill Creek pack. But this one is not a 50 pack. This is 32 movie collection drive-in cult classics. Donald Pleasence, Robert Carradine, Robert Reed, Zalman King, John Savage, Jayne Mansfield, and many more. Now, of course, Donald Pleasence, everybody knows him from the Halloween series. Robert Carradine, that is Louis Skolnick from Revenge of the Nerds. And for you younger folks watching this, there's a little Disney show called Lizzie McGuire. He was Lizzie's dad. Robert Reed, I'm probably going to get this wrong, and I don't feel like an idiot when I do. Pretty sure that's got to play the dad on the Brady Bunch. Zalman King, best known for the movie Wild Orchid and the executive producer of Red Shoe Diaries. John Savage, I have no fucking clue. Jayne Mansfield, okay, to my generation and people older than me, she was the pinup model. She was, to me, you always hear about how Marilyn Monroe was, the most beautiful woman in Hollywood, walking the planet time. Jayne Mansfield made Marilyn Monroe look like nothing. Jayne Mansfield was just gorgeous. She seemed to have a good sense of humor. She was a decent actress. Sadly, her life ended. She was singing and dancing and performing in clubs. She was performing in one in, if I remember, Biloxi or Gulfport, Mississippi, and was on her way to New Orleans for an engagement, had a car wreck, and died. She was married to Haggerty. What the fuck is his name? Oh, he played the executioner in Bloody Pit of Horror. But nowadays, for people out there that don't know who Jayne is, if you know a little show called Law and Order Special Victims Unit, Mariska Haggerty, that is Jayne's daughter. And while Mariska is not an ugly woman by any means, she did not get her looks from her mother. Her mother was just almost perfect, and Mariska, she's a pretty woman. She's not, to me, as beautiful as her mother was. Okay, so this is a pack. It was BCI Eclipse was putting out these packs called Drive-In Cult Classics. There was 4 of them, or 5. The last one was like impossible to find. Like, it hit shelves, limited print run, blah, blah, blah. People paying a fortune for them. What these are is, there's this company, the 60s and 70s. They're still around now, but I don't think they're doing anything. I know they did shit in the 80s, and there is a film I found from the late 90s, early 2000s. It's Crown International. They were kind of like the low-budget version of American International Pictures, AIP, Roger Corman's group. And they just did shit for the drive-ins. Celebrate these classic drive-in features from a bygone era. We got The Babysitter. Things take a turn for the worse when Deputy District Attorney has an affair with his babysitter, which leads to a run-in with a motorcycle gang leader. Not bad. Late 60s film. Kind of entertaining. Best Friends. Richard Hatch and Susan Benton. Doug Chapin. Okay, Richard Hatch was Apollo. I had to think for a second. Apollo on the original Battlestar Galactica, and then on the revamped series, I cannot remember his character's name, but he was like considered the terrorist guy. Really good actor. Okay, this one is 2 young couples taste the free and easy life on a cross-country motorhome tour until love backfires and tragedy follows. This is 1975, so right before Hatch got into Battlestar Galactica, which was like 77, 78. Bloodlust with Robert Reed. 1959, black and white, not rated. A group of teenagers must fight for survival on a deserted island with a crazed big game hunter hot on the trail. If I remember right, this is kind of like the Most Dangerous Game, where the person gets invited to the island and it turns out the rich folks want to hunt them. Blood Mania. Peter Carpenter, nobody else. Vicky Peters, 1970. This gothic-like horror tale is about a young doctor who is haunted by a questionable past and entrapped in a hopeless present by jealousy, blackmail, and finally murder. Yeah. Blue Monday. Nobody ever heard of, and this is 1972. Jim's profession as an adult film director threatens his happy married life when the police begin a crackdown on the pornography industry. Carnival of Prom, 1962. Nobody ever heard of in it. A 4-alarm murder mystery. This nerve-tingling story is about a dashing, prominent builder in Brazil who is mistakenly accused of killing his wife. Cindy Donna, 1971. 2 bored sisters from a typical suburban home discover that growing up doesn't necessarily require that they behave like their debauched parents. Probably the most recent film in this, and okay, this proves me Crown, did shit in the 90s. Even though I've heard that part of this film was filmed way before then, and part of it was filmed later. It's like a patch together. Click, The Calendar Girl Murder. Troy Donahue. Donna Spear. She's best known for doing the Andy Sedaris Lethal Ladies movies. She's in a lot of. She's a Playboy playmate. She's in this. Real simple. This suspenseful tale takes place in the world of high fashion photography, where a psychotic killer stalks the models at a photographer's remote ranch. The Creeping Terror. This is the film that's probably the story behind it's more entertaining than the actual movie is, but here we go. 1964. Vic Savage. Oh, Shannon O'Neill. As spacecraft lands in a remote area outside a small California town, and a hideous creature emerges, which begins to devour members of the local community. The Devil's Hand from 1962. A mysterious doll leads a man to a beautiful dream woman in a devil-worshipping cult headed by the keeper of the doll shop. Double Exposure. This is from 83. A photographer is played by recurring nightmares where he murders the models who pose for him. The Hearse from 1980. This is one that Asshat Podcast, the actual podcast, my main co-host, Nadia. This is a film she saw as a kid and loved. And I ended up copying this and sending it to her because as far as we could find, there was not a release in Region 2 PAL of The Hearse. So I hooked her up with a copy. The Hearse. A young woman inherits a home and lives in it during the summer. Rumors of witchcraft in the home, along with anger from the locals, bring her lots of trouble. Hot Target, 1985. At first glance, Christine Weber would seem to be a woman who is everything, but under the surface, Christine is also trapped with the very perfection of her life. Land of the Minotaur, Donald Pleasance, Peter Cushing, 1976. A satanic cult kidnaps 3 young tourists with the intent of murdering them as ritual sacrifices. Lurkers, 1988. Nobody ever heard of a psychological story about a beautiful young New York cellist whose demonic childhood nightmares return, threatening her success, her sanity, and her life. Madman of Mandorus. Okay. This is 1963. This is best known. This film was. They had some scenes added to it. It's known as They Saved Hitler's Brain. Both versions of the movie are on here. This is the plot for this one. Filled with action, this dramatic story is about a group of fanatics on the island of Mandorus who come up with a diabolical plot to conquer the world. Okay, Malibu Beach. Now this one, Crown was kind of known in the late 70s for producing what? GOAT of Hillbilly DVD reviews. Check them out on check them out on YouTube and look for the 80s movie Graveyard podcast. He also did Hillbilly DVD reviews podcast. He also did a bunch of he calls this genre of films California porn, because you're watching them, if you're a teenager, like, man, I'm gonna go live in fucking California. It's nothing but beaches, women, and sun. And we did an episode of Exploited Cinema, which sadly seems to have disappeared because Talk Shoe Shit the Bed, talking about this movie. And here, all these films are kind of connected by this character called Dugan, who's like the bully who dresses kind of like a greaser from the 50s. And these are set in the 70s. But here we go. A Malibu shore lifeguard becomes the center of the universe, and they spelled center weird, for 2 beachgoers who compete for her attention. Now, this is kind of like... I'm trying to think of the best way. American Graffiti, but set at a beach, set in the modern day. Cool little, it's R-rated, but there's a little nudity, there's a little drug use. It's not like hard R. And then you got right below Malibu High, thinking, oh shit, Malibu High. You see the movie person like this. Maybe this is the sequel or prequel to Malibu Beach. No. 1979, came out the next year. High school senior Kim is having problems at school and at home, so she makes an after-hours deal with one of her teachers to improve her grade point average. She becomes a drug-addicted hooker. Movie is nothing like you would think. You're thinking, oh, it's a TNA beach movie, high school movie. No, it's a fucking drug-addicted hooker movie. Nightclub. Elizabeth Caton, who Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, did a lot of the Surrender Cinema shit, the Vice Academy series. This is 89. A man purchases an old warehouse with the intent to convert it into a nightclub. Unfortunately, the man faces problem with monsters, his wife, and the city council. Okay. Pickup, 1975. 2 young women meet up with a young man driving an RV across the state. When a detour leads the trio stranded, they decide to indulge in nature and each other. Yeah. Okay. The only film on this set that I saw before getting this. Well, I had the Driving Cult Classics, Volume 3, I think it was. And this film was one of those, if you know what Hastings is, it's a video rental store that sells DVDs, VHS, all that kind of shit. sells CDs, sells books. Kind of like if you took a Walden's Books, threw in a record bar, if you remember record bar or FYE, and then put a video store in it. Great store. They were getting rid of a bunch of VHS, and I saw this movie, read the back, I was like, oh fuck. I've never heard of this. Excuse me. It's probably hard as fuck to come by. And I had a friend that was collecting films of this genre, so it was a present for him. The Pink Angels. Don Haggerty, which I think is the guy that played Grizzly Adams. This is from 1971. 6 burly cross-dressing motorcyclists planning an excursion to Los Angeles. Call them Hell's Angels with an affinity for lipstick, high heels, and blazers. This is about a biker gang. They're all gay. And it's just kind of wacky, goofy comedy. And then has this fucked up ending. And until these sets came out, I didn't think this would ever hit DVD. Matter of fact, that VHS, my buddy I gave it to, he likes biker movies and he likes films from the gay genre. So it's like, hit both things for him. It's like, he loved the fucking movie. Sadly, he passed away last year, if what I've been told was right. The Pom Pom Girls, Robert Carradine, 1976. I think I might have seen this one years ago on like Showtime late at night, but this one, it ain't as good. It's also got Cheryl Rainbow Smith in this in a small part. A fast-paced story about a group of high school seniors who indulge in some final wild flings before having to settle down into a more adult lifestyle. Robert Carradine, then, Louis Skolnick, the head nerd in Revenge of the Nerds, and Lizzie McGuire's dad, he's done other stuff since then, is the high school quarterback. Yes. Louis Skolnick, and also he played the nerd in Massacre at Central High, was the high school quarterback in the film. It feels like a TNA high school comedy, but from my remembering, there's not that much TNA in this. Separate Ways, Karen Black, David Naughton, 1981. Faced with a failing business and a dissolving household, a married couple see if they can truly hold their family together or be faced with each of them going their separate ways. Never watched this one. A lot of these on there I have not watched yet. Single Room Furnished. This is where we get Jayne Mansfield. And this is probably one of the older films on her. 1968. Black and white. Oh, it is color, sorry. And her last screen performance. Famed sex symbol Jayne Mansfield stars in the story of a woman's change from an innocent teenager to an embittered, delusional prostitute. Sister-in-Law, John Savage. 1974. In this drama, the career of an aspiring singer is threatened when he's drawn into the drug smuggling organization run by his brother and his brother's seductive wife. The Stepmother. Oh, fuck, I didn't know she was in there. I'm going to have to watch this now. Claudia Jennings. Redhead, Playboy Playmate, kind of best known for the film Gator Bait and Unholy Rollers. Really, really pretty. 70s. Pretty. Had that very 70s look. Who, sadly, she was just maybe getting a break into the mainstream. She did an episode of the Brady Bunch, and then she ended up dying in a car wreck. Sadly, also before the car wreck, she'd gotten bad on drugs. But kind of has a cult following. In the film, oh, here we go. An architect with a violent temper discovers his second wife had an affair with his teenage son. Nominated for an Oscar for Best Music Original Song. Okay. The Teacher. Jay North, who, if I remember right, is the kid who played Dennis the Menace on the old black and white Dennis the Menace TV show. And this is one from, when the hell's it from? 74. An 18-year-old high school graduate finds his summer after school filmed with more lessons when he takes up a romantic relationship with his married 28-year-old teacher. Okay. Terrified. Nobody ever heard of. 1963. Okay, this is the oldest one on here. I'm pretty sure now. A psychology student intent on writing a paper on how much terror the mind can endure learns his answers firsthand as he finds himself the target of a mysterious hooded killer. That plot sounds a little bit like the plot to a Clive Barker short story called Dread. I wonder if Barker saw this and was inspired. You never know. You never fucking know. If you out there watching this meets Clive Barker, ask him if he was inspired to write Dread by Terrified. They Saved Hitler's Brain from 1968. Filled with action, this dramatic story is about a gang of fanatics on the island of Mandorus who hatch a diabolical plot to conquer the world. Alright, the news scenes basically have a guy done up as Hitler, and his head's in a jar and he's talking. This is one of those infamous So Bad It's Good films that was known for years, just because it's got a fucking stupid ass title. They Saved Hitler's Brain. Trip with Teachers, Zalman King, 1975. Oh man, okay. A teacher along with a few of her female students, are going on a field trip to something out in the middle of nowhere. Their bus breaks down. These bikers agree to help them tow the bus somewhere, and then they're going to get them some help. Zalman King, who looks like a fucking perverted, crazy version of Bono circa Zooropa, or what the fuck was it? Achtung Baby days, and a lot of rape. Lot of rape in this movie. It's a part of. It feels like it's part of that. What year was this? I'm sorry, 1975. It feels like it's part of that rape revenge cycle of films that was coming out. You had like shit like Last House on the Left, I Spit on Your Grave, this, and there's others. This is probably the lesser known one, and as far as one of the few, acting roles I've seen from Zalman King. I know he's done other stuff. This is one of the few that I've seen. All right, now we're coming to my favorite fucking movie on set, and the reason why I would buy the set, if I didn't own a copy of this movie, but I'd seen it, I would buy the set just for that. And this was one of those when Walmart had these, they were asking like $7.50 or $10 for these, and most of the other ones, of course, were 50 movies. This is only 32. You get one movie per side usually, but they're in better quality. But this film, and that Malibu Beach, that episode I was talking about exploited cinema. The second film on that episode we covered was Van Nuys Boulevard. And for at least a year afterwards, Goat, Delroy, and I would just randomly quote lines in the theme song from this movie to each other because it sticks in your head. Matter of fact, right now I have the film playing on my DVD, my Blu-ray player in the living room, just because I love this movie. And what it is it's, what year? 1979. Bill Adler, Cynthia Wood, Dennis Brown. Cynthia Wood was a Playboy playmate. There's a few other people in it that were in Playboy. Real simple. Bill Adler plays this guy, Billy. He lives somewhere in California with his girlfriend. He comes home from work. He's got an old van. He comes home from work. All she wants to do is get high and fuck, and he's more interested in watching this thing on the news about how the new thing is cruising up and down Van Nuys Boulevard. And he's like, fuck this, bitch. I'm going cruising. And he goes there and meets up with a bunch of friends. You got a guy we call Bootleg Ralph Malfa. Redheaded guy that looks kind of like Ralph Malph from Happy Days. Cynthia Wood, who's this pretty blonde, and her friend, who I can't remember her name, is a pretty brunette, who Ralph Malph's after the brunette. And then there's Wanda the Waitress, who works at the, kind of like a Sonic, if you have a Sonic driving in your area. It's kind of driving like that. She's the waitress. It's kind of, she's easy. She's not a slut. She enjoys having sex with various people. Matter of fact, she hooks up with Billy early on in the film. And then there's Chooch. If you're watching this back, yes, Chooch is your daddy. Chooch is the guy who's slightly older than the rest of these people. The rest of these people in this film are like 20, 20, 21, 22, early 20s. Chooch is probably pushing 30. He's got the hot rod. He's driving up and down the boulevard, and he's constantly getting harassed by the cop. The cop they have hired to have assigned to watch Van Nuys Boulevard is Officer Zaz. And the whole film, it's kind of like American Graffiti, but set in the modern day, which was 1979. And like they get thrown in jail for, like, Ralph Malph gets thrown in jail for hitchhiking without one foot on the curb. Bill and the two girls get thrown in for drag racing, and they end up becoming friends. And the whole film is basically about growing up and figuring out what you want to do with your life. But it's just a fun little romp of a film. And the neat thing about it, this is the only film on this set with an extra. The director sat down and did a commentary that is very good. Now, most of these films, if you look around on YouTube, you will find them. Complete film, watch it. This is the one I recommend. It's just a good, fun, feel-good film. Not really much, there's some nudity and shit, but nothing in it that would, I would say, if you got a 14-year-old or older, let them watch it. There's nothing in here that's going to really freak you the fuck out. Such a good little movie. Never hear anybody talking about, and the theme song is so damn good. And then we got the final film, Weekend with the Babysitter, 1971, which I've been told is a remake of The Babysitter. Excuse me. While the wife and son are out of town, Candy, the babysitter, decides to teach the movie director her husband the way of hippies, bikers, free love, and drugs. But 21 hours and 49 minutes. Warning, contains material suitable for mature audiences only, not rated 12 disc set. And my case is a little bit, but it's just sleeves, one or two movies on each side, most of the time one. It's out of print, I'm pretty sure. I don't think Mill Creek has the rights. Vinegar Syndrome is putting out some of the Crown International shit on DVD and Blu-ray, and Code Red is. If anybody out there who works at Vinegar Syndrome or Code Red is listening to this, watching this, please, I'm begging you, I want a Blu-ray of Van Nuys Boulevard. To me, it's one of those films that I really think, if more and more people see it, it could build up a nice little cult following. It really could. I just love the movie. And it was surprising when I bought this. I bought it just because I wanted to have all the driving cult classics. And like the horror films on here's the ones I wanted to see. And now, honestly, out of all these, I watch Van Nuys the most. Van Nuys is one of those that at least once or twice a year, I throw it on and watch it with the commentary and without the commentary. It's entertaining without it. It's entertaining with it. It's just a fun film. And it is it's a 70s TNA comedy, but it doesn't feel as sleazy and chauvinistic as a lot of the 70s and even some of the 80s TNA comedies are. I mean, like, I love the Revenge of the Nerds movie, but the scene where Louis Skolnick hooks up with Betty and she thinks it's Stan, Louis is basically raping her without, she does not give her consent for him to have sex with her. You don't see that in this. It's just a fun little movie. It's a cool little set. Like I say, extremely inexpensive. You probably find used copies really cheap. I like the case. I don't know what else to say. Go. When you get through, shut off this, you finish this video, after you give me that thumbs up, you leave a comment if you feel like it, you subscribe, look up Van Nuys Boulevard on YouTube and watch it. And give it 20 minutes. If it's not catching you by then, okay, well, forget about it. It's just not for you, but it should. It's such a damn good movie. So, I'll catch your ass on the boulevard. Thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all the other bullshit. Talk to everybody later. Bye-bye.